Let's begin with an interesting question. Was Jesus ever tempted sexually? This question was sheepishly and, confidentially asked by a young man who took a pastor aside at a conference. And what was the answer? He said, "Young man, the Bible tells us Jesus in his humanity can sympathize with our weaknesses as one who has been tempted in all things as we are, yet without sin." That's in Hebrews chapter 4:15. Hearing the answer, the young man breathed a sigh of relief, thanked the pastor, and he quietly exited the room. Now, I'm addressing this not to shock anybody or be controversial or offend anybody, but rather to help people wrestling with this challenging issue. Certainly, our sex-saturated culture has a multitude of voices sharing their perspective. Doesn't it make sense to get some sound scriptural counsel amidst all the ungodly advice bombarding us from every corner? In Ephesians 5, it calls us, God's holy people. And it says there must not even be a hint of sexual immorality or any kind of impurity, for it's shameful even to mention what disobedient folks do in secret. Sex education classes in the World Health Organization encourage masturbation, plus abortion and homosexuality to children and teens worldwide. There's Christian ministers that proclaim, hey, masturbation's a gift of God. That's the quote. And then there's talk show hosts and so-called experts on sexuality. They'll espouse their advice everywhere in the culture. They celebrate premarital sex, masturbation, and many of them refer to the guru Alfred Kinsey and his landmark studies on sexual behavior. What they don't tell you is that historian James Jones, in his biography of Kinsey, stated that the pseudo-researcher was a, quote, closeted homosexual and masochist who was obsessed with sex and driven by his own sexual demons, end quote. Now here's the deal. Embracing a biblical worldview will bring you and I liberty and guilt-free sexuality. Let's take a look in this chapter at three liberating truths. The first, there's both beauty and mystery in sex. Many Christians are ashamed to discuss what God's not ashamed to create. Jesus said the thief, Satan, comes to steal, kill, and destroy. But he said, I've come you might have life and have it to the full. This includes a rich and fulfilling sexual experience when aligned with God's unchanging standards. Then number two, while God richly provides us with everything for our enjoyment, Scripture says, He commands us, don't arouse or awaken love before the proper time. That's in Song of Solomon. There is a time for everything, Scripture says, a season for every activity under heaven. There's a time to embrace, time to refrain. He's made everything beautiful in its time. That's Ecclesiastes chapter 3. A fire's warm, it's wonderful in a fireplace under control. But if that same fire's set loose, it can burn down a house. Same thing with water. It's refreshing in the tap under control, but hey, that same water rushing through a broken dam, on a rampage can devastate an area and destroy human life. What's the difference? Control. Now, the third element is Christians are not to be mastered by anything, and that includes masturbation. Jesus told us, quote, I tell you the truth. Everyone who sins is a slave to sin. Yet right before this statement, he encouraged us to continue in his word, to know the truth, and he said the truth's going to set you free. Like Job, we need to make a covenant with our eyes. Flee evil. Don't flirt with it. If you allow Satan to get a foot in the door, he'll come in and destroy your house. Spend consistent time in the Word. That's why David said, how does a young man keep his way pure? By living according to your Word. As a young man, I put on the hallway mirror a scriptural statement to confess regularly. It was from Romans chapter 6. I personalized it to build my faith and walk as an overcomer. Little by little, my mind was renewed to believe this fact. I don't have to serve sin today. I've been set free.